Hi everyone, this is Adam from Adam's Canary Corner, and this is another practical episode of this season's channel. Just some exciting news before we start. We have 4 pairs and we have 18 eggs. So we have 3 pairs with 5 eggs and 1 pair with 3 eggs. I'll put the dates on. Now we expect the first hatching to happen on the 24th of September, sometimes a day earlier. And we have the following hatching to happen on the 28th of September. So fingers crossed, eggs will be fertile and everything is going well and we don't have any problems. Now today's episode is a practical one. It's about disinfecting and cleaning and treating common illnesses in canaries. Now we start with the cleaning. Now with the cleaning, I usually do my cleaning of perches and the bases of the cages usually once a month. So what I do, I use a scraper. That's a really good one. It's got different edges to it, so I can go, for example, this is the wire. We imagine this is the base of the cage or the side. We can go through the corners and the sides, and we can clean from the top by scraping all the dirt off. Once I do that, I use disinfectant wipes. That's hospital grade antibacterial wipes. I wipe the perches. Now I scrape the perches with a scraper, and I wipe them off with the antiseptic wipes. So I wipe them off and I put them back on. I usually do this once a month, and it's the same thing with the wires, whether they are on the side or the base. I just go like that. The benefit of these cages, they have dividers. So I keep the birds on one side. I also use a solid divider so they don't see me cleaning it. That's the same as that. So it's less stress on the birds, and then I let them go back to their section, and you clean another section. During this time, I spray the cages with Avitrol. That's to treat bird mites and mice spray, and that's available in Pet Ban and MacArthur Pets and all the good pet stores. So I spray around. I make sure no mites are allowed to grow. Keep them all under control. Keep the birds happy. So I use this after the cleaning. Now, cleaning the cabinets from behind and cleaning all the cabinets, I do this every 3 months. So I take the cages down, because these cages are inside cabinets. I take the cages down, I give them a good vacuum, and I wipe them off really well and scrape all the sides of the cabinets. They're all laminate timber, very easy to clean, and I wipe them up with this. They go brand new, and then I put the cages back on. That's every 3 months. But cleaning the perches and the bases of the cages, I do it once a month. By the end of every month, I do that. During the breeding, I try to maybe lessen my interference inside the cage. So I usually just clean the perches, and I usually clean the trays really well. By the way, I do also clean the trays with scraping and wiping, and I focus on that. We don't want to put our hands too much and too many times inside the cages during the breeding season. I personally think it's distressing to the birds. They trying to be private, and they try to be intimate and close to each other, and they feed each other, they look after each other. So I don't want to interrupt this cycle, and I don't want to interrupt this nature of the birds. So I keep it minimally inside, mainly outside. Other than that, definitely once a month, clean inside out, and every 3 months the whole cabinet. Now that's in terms of the cleaning. Something else I want to talk about, when I do the sock seed, which is part of the food for the babies, which will be another short session about that later on during the season, probably in the next 2-3 weeks. I usually use Melton. Melton, we use it to clean baby bottles. I usually use 1 or 2 drops in the water when I soak the seeds. It's excellent antibacterial. It cleans the water. And then I rinse the seeds the next morning after 24 hours. Then I add my mix of Paswell egg and biscuit and Paswell rearing food to the soaked seeds. They become very soft. I give them to the parents, and the parents feed the babies. So I usually use Multin. You can buy that from all pharmacies. Being a pharmacist, I know this firsthand, so I use this for the soaked seeds. That's in terms of the seeds. So we spoke about the seeds, we spoke about the cages. Now, speaking about the birds. Now, if you keep your perches and cages clean, you're less likely to have issues with sores and fungal infections on the legs of the birds. Because I've noticed before I got into this hobby, I've noticed some birds, even on YouTube and Facebook videos and all that, a lot of people complain of sores and fungal infections on the legs. And I've had the birds for 3 years now. I've never had this a problem. I found that cleaning the perches, cleaning the bases with antiseptic wipes, scraping everything off, completely eliminate and stop this from happening. 4 years now, I've never had a single bird with sores on the legs or changes to the skin of the legs. The legs are beautifully clean, super clean birds. No problems. Now, that's aside. Now let's talk about the common illnesses in canaries. Canaries, they can develop respiratory infection. This usually happens where canaries are kept outside, or they kept in areas with cold currents. They develop respiratory infection. They sneeze, the discharge, and all that happens. And if you don't treat it, the respiratory infection gets worse, and then you end up with a bigger problem, and you lose the bird. So if that happens, usually I treat them with triple C powder. Sorry, I didn't bring the container. It's in the fridge. Triple C powder is also made by Vitafarm, and we use that basically. We mix it with water and we give it to the birds for 5 to 7 days, and that usually clears the respiratory infections. So it is definitely important to use triple C. Thank you, Ian. So triple C powder, excellent. I use this to treat respiratory infections. I also, based on advice from my friend and mentor, John Shureb, I usually use triple C in the egg food. I start 1 month before breeding and throughout the breeding season to reduce the risk of egg binding. So triple C is amazing. I use a little bit, put it in drinking water in terms of treating infections, and I put it in the egg food to minimize the risk of egg binding, and also even minimize the risk of bacterial infections to the parents and the babies. So triple C Vitafarm, amazing. If the bird is sick and unwell and you isolate the bird, I recommend Poly-Aid Plus. It can be made in a soft paste, and the birds can feed on it, or you can feed the sick bird. It's full of nutrients, vitamin and minerals to help sick birds. So that's another product to consider. I don't usually use it often. I usually use triple C. Is an amazing product and really works. The other major problem in birds is worms. So I treat my birds once a year with the worm malt gel from Vitafarm. I usually use this once a year to kill any possibility of worms inside the birds. It is highly unlikely if your birds are clean and in an enclosed environment and they are not exposed to other birds, but I usually recommend it and I use it once a year. The other thing that might happen is mites. So usual mites, just normal mites and lice, I usually use avian insect liquidator of Vitafarm. I spray the birds when I take them down from their breeding cages. into the flight cages, and when I put them back into breeding cages. So twice a year I spray them with the mite spray. I put one spray under each wing and one spray around the vent, and that should do the job. So that's it, twice a year. A major problem in canaries that happens, and especially introducing birds from unknown sources or sick birds to your birds, is air sac mites. I've never had air sac mites with my birds, simply because I don't bring birds from outside. I breed my own birds, and also they live in an enclosed environment. Inside the home, inside the cabinets, everything is very clean. But I keep it just in case it happens. So I keep it. I keep Evimec, is ivermectin. We use it in the pharmacy to kill parasites. We use it here to kill air sac mites. If it happens, what happens to the bird? The bird starts breathing heavily. They stop eating and drinking. They may eat a little bit, but they all are fluffed up, and they stop completely all physical activity. You need to distinguish between air sac mites and molting. In molting, the birds may be fluffed up and slow, but they're very responsive. They fly around and they're very interactive, but they're a bit slow and fluffed up. So you have to distinguish between air sac mites. Air sac mites, the breathing is unusual, the mouth is open, but also they stop eating and drinking significantly. While molting, no, the birds still active very well. They move around, they slow their movement a little bit, but they fluffed up, but they don't have heavy breathing, and they don't, they call it labored breathing, basically. They don't have that. So distinguish between the two. During the molting, yes, they are a little bit slow, a little fluffed up, but they're active and interacting, and they very responsive to anything. So Evimec, very important to have. Ivermectin is excellent. I usually, if it happens, it has never happened, but I keep it just in case emergencies. I put 1-2 drops on the back of the bird, and I massage it on the back. It's really good for that. Now, that is about it for this episode. I just wanted to mention something. The reason, now we've noticed in the first 2 episodes, I was aiming to do episodes in English and Arabic. I stopped the Arabic, the portion of the video, because a lot of the products that I talk about, they're available in Australia only. Beta Farm, an Australian company, Password's the same thing. They're not available in the Middle East. Also, the cages and all the supplies that I have is usually in Australia. It's not in the Middle East. And most of my Middle Eastern friends and the community here in Australia and Sydney, they speak English really well. I wanted to make the videos a bit shorter and more concise, rather than going into 2 sections and making them too long. So that's why we stopped the Arabic version and we kept it to the English version. Thank you for listening today. Next week it will be an update on the birds. It's going to be a short episode, and we will follow it up with another practical episode. And maybe I will be adding short videos here and there in between during the week. Thank you, my friends. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next week.